Thank you. So, yeah, let's dive right in since we're talking about working from home. My article is pretty straightforward. I gave pretty much all the details I had over to Paul. I mean, really kind of what I'm looking for is just really practical how-to, best practice kind of insights as to different things you can do, not only to sort of improve or operate, well from a recruiting and retention perspective, but also things that you can do to kind of keep the costs down associated with both of those elements too. So really just kind of open to pick your brain and sort of hear whatever insights you have that you found through your own course of your career or what you're doing now, right now.
Got it. Okay. I think probably up front for Maverick, honesty might be the biggest factor. To be honest about what the organization is, where it's going, and what you expect the candidate who's applying, either internal or external, to be doing. Because I suspect that unrealized expectations on both sides of that employment contract lead to disaffection, disillusionment, and lack of involvement. So it's the degree to which you can be entirely honest about your expectations within the organization, the way the organization behaves, and get the individual to be honest about what they want, over and above the financial question, which is secondary. It's not just about experience. It's about putting experiences to work in an enthusiastic way. And so I think in defining that company culture up front in a very honest way and getting a dialogue with the applicant going, so even before employment, they realize that you're upfront and that you're interested in their opinion about the way the organization works. So you actually define the culture piece up front through the conversation you have with the individual. And it is much more likely to lead the organization to bring the right individuals on board. And the right individuals are often a very diverse group, but it is matching their attitude towards life, employment, geography, expectation of hours, etc., to the position you have. If that fit is right, it probably will work. And in terms of what we're doing in Maverick, we think that deep involvement with our associates is incredibly important. And on a very regular basis, having feedback not only about their performance, but also about the company performance, where the company is going, what they think about it, and actually structuring that as an ongoing conversation for literally every individual within the organization. If an individual believes they're involved, then they can get engaged. And that engagement sort of takes it to the next step. And that's once again a constant process of listening, not only in their own specific area of concentration, but also other areas, so that you begin to get a more diverse feedback of opinions about what the company should be doing, where it should be going, how quickly, with what resources. And you get an idea of where this individual believes their involvement should be. And what we're finding is, especially with, the famous millennials, is that they demand this. They want to be involved and they want to be engaged. To then drive further engagement through giving them clear responsibility, not just necessarily for drone-like tasks, but potentially, once you've had the conversations about engagement involvement, more than they're currently doing. Because there's that odd equation that seems to work, that the more you give a person, the more enthusiastic they get. So while sort of, I suppose, technically giving them more work than they expect, you're actually getting more engagement because it is the most respectful thing to delegate authority to them. And none of
Right.
these things actually involve money. It is the fit with the culture up front based on honesty, the involvement through sharing information on a regular basis, the engagement by listening and letting them expound, increased responsibility by more delegation, and you get people who begin to be vested in the organization for emotional reasons, for intellectual reasons, sometimes it sort of sounds too new age, but almost spiritual reasons. It gives them a sense of place. Mm-hmm. And none of this involves money.
Mm-hmm.
So the traditional way of looking at things is, you know, money and hours begins to be, it's important, but it begins to become secondary to the nature of their involvement with the organization.
Mm-hmm.
The final piece essentially being a stake in the organization. So they become a stakeholder by virtue of the increased responsibility in the organization, the more work they're doing, the greater engagement they're doing, and then you structure the rewards based on that stakeholding, which could be a bonus program, it could be a shadow profit program, but once again, it's related to the depth of their engagement with the organization.
Right. Right. Well, that's certainly impressive. And I could see the value there from an employee's perspective. I mean, do you feel that, how does that translate? Does that translate all the way down to even, you know, the real line level employees? I mean, hourly employees, housekeepers, et cetera, who, you know, I know that, and I ask that not because, I'm looking down on them. I ask that because I know that those jobs in particular are extremely difficult, and I know that from an hourly wage perspective, a lot of people tend to tell me that it's a challenge to attract that level of help because, you know, to be honest with you now, you're competing with a job at Starbucks or you're competing with a job at Walmart or something like that where, you know, they may not view it as a difficult a position as cleaning rooms every day, you know? So, I mean, do you find that is enough to sort of, the culture that you're describing, is that enough to win people over even at that lower hourly level? Or is there something else you have to do to attract that talent as well?
I think what you do is take those components we were talking about, and you may change the priorities of them. And I would say that for many line-level associates, such as housekeeping, this idea of a sense of place where they're valued is enormous importance. If you live in challenging financial circumstances, and possibly in less than attractive surroundings, the idea of going to a workplace that shows you respect and becomes, in a way, your home away from home, where people, once again, involve you, engage you, and give you more responsibility. I don't know that it's any different for a housekeeper than, let's say, a chief financial officer. It's just articulated somewhat differently. So for a housekeeper, the traditional model is, you know, forcing them into a room's productivity cycle, which can be very hard indeed. We think it is much better to engage the housekeepers in the nature of the productivity. You know, how many minutes should a stayover take? How many minutes should a check-in take? Check-out take? And should it be different for different sorts of rooms? And you can mold that dialogue, but it becomes a dialogue. And you actually get, frankly, better real information from them than almost any other source. So you actually involve them, you engage them, and you give them credit. Because one of the key things about this sense of place is, I don't know about you, but so often at home, our contributions are ignored. But the idea of going to a place where you receive financial rewards and the other associates and management involve you in the decisions in your area, share information about the success through their service scores, engage you in the way in which to make improvements, and things as simple as the respect of a vice president or a general manager doing room inspections. A room inspection isn't a punishment for a housekeeper. You should go in with them and almost do the room with them. So they see that you actually care about the results of their work and give them credit for their success. It develops this idea of a sense of place. So that if the pull of another employment entity is there, they have to ask themselves, these guys respect me. My fellow associates get on well with me. They give me credit for my successes, and they actually care about my opinion and work. Makes it much harder for an individual to want to leave.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. And then, you can look at that equation from the other end of the spectrum, which is the higher salaried, kind of back office people that sometimes have to be hired, and it can be challenging. I mean, I know that, for example, revenue managers are in very high demand, and at least from what I hear, and truly good sales and marketing people are always in demand. I mean, again, is the culture itself enough to sort of satisfy the needs you have for talent at that level as well? Or, I mean, are there other things, whether it's working from home, like you said, like we were saying, or other perks? I mean, are there other things you do to attract, say the best talent in revenue management or marketing or things like that?
Yeah. And honestly, it's all about the honesty of the initial conversation and about your culture as an organization. So we have sort of three sorts of people who are based from home, actually four sorts. We have accounting people based from home. We have sales people based from home. We have revenue management based from home. And we have one or two of the top people based from home because it's important to them. But you find that in the initial conversation with them, that honest conversation about are we prepared to be flexible? Is the hiring process?
Hello? Robin, you still there?
I think we lost them.
Yeah, I got booted at one point myself. I don't know if it was my service or the conference line or what it was.
Did you keep? I heard the drop off, and I thought, does the recorder keep going, or did you have to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when I came back in, it said that it was still recording, so I was like, oh, okay. I guess we're all.
I'm
good.
sure he'll be back somehow. Maybe. I use the same for my freeconferencecall.com. I use that too. Sometimes it has a drop, but I think I just started trying back in.
I just
Are you back?
Yeah.
No, it's not your fault. We were just talking about that because it's not. It happens once in a while on this free conference call line that just calls drop off for some reason, but it wasn't your fault. So no apologies needed.
Yeah, I'm thinking about switching to. I might start using GoToMeeting or Uber Conference. I'm not sure. I'm going to play around with a few different.
We use Uber. It's great.
Yeah,
and the recording is so cool. No, but back to the point. It's that original dialogue and ongoing dialogue you have with the individual about how they see the position, how they see the company, what their needs are. And if it's honest up front, and if you can be truly honest about the culture, then, especially if your culture is somewhat appealing to, let's say, the millennial generation, you can flex. It doesn't have to be uniform. Because if you have the right people whose desires are, let's say, a lifestyle change, or a family change has made being at home important, then what a lovely thing to be able to give because of the technology we have for an accountant, a revenue manager, a salesperson, or whoever. In many cases, these individuals can be based from home. But you have to be upfront about what that means, the amount of time it takes, and you have to ensure that the engagement to keep them part of that sort of place of home that they will feel in the organization, you have to work harder. So regular calls in, regular visits to headquarters or the property, those sorts of things.
Right.
But you have to be honest up front about the culture. And in our case, our name sort of says the culture. We like people that think out of the box. We like people to use their brains as well as their labor. Mm-hmm. Because we believe that people that do that give more. Mm-hmm. And curiously enough, they end up costing less because the idea of being engaged fully and appreciated is more important than straightforward financial results.
Right.
And so it is the degree to which you are comfortable as an organization delegating more than is typical. So if you were, let's say, a large brand organization, of which there are a couple of big ones in the States, you probably can't be quite as flexible. But the idea of stability, security, etc., will be appealing. And in the dialogue that they might have up front, they would say, you know, we've been around for 100 years, we have X 100 or 1,000 properties, this is a very stable organization, and your tasks will be very clearly outlined so that the fit between the applicant and the organization is a good one. Once
right.
again, possibly more important than financial, sense of security, let's say. Whereas for an organization like ours, we like people to think, potentially take risks, to act on their own with support. We love the idea of delegation. And so we're getting engaged with different sorts of people, mm-hmm. Which are important to our culture. But once again, you have to be very upfront about the nature of who you are, which encourages the individual to be upfront about the nature of who they are.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that you do get, you know, the revenue manager who wants to live, let's say, in Kentucky for whatever reason,
right.
lives vicariously through all these other places. And once again, you engage them on more than their just, you know, formal subject matter. You probably give them a little bit more information than they need. Possibly
right.
you give them what they want.
Right.
And they take a bigger stake.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Interesting. And also, I mean, have you found that, just as an aside, have you found any kind of increase or decrease, you know, or, you know, I guess kind of median, even anecdotally, about, you know, the idea of being more flexible and the idea of letting people work from home? I mean, you know, it's just such an ongoing question. There's so many, you know, we've all worked for employers that go kind of one way or the other. You know, you get your old school people that just want everybody there in the office all the time, and then you get the people that are more open-minded about it, and they're never. It seems to be this ongoing debate. I mean, do you find that there's any correlation either way to productivity?
Honestly, no, not if you have the right people, and you are flexible enough, because one of the things you need to do as part of the sort of credit giving and the celebration piece of being a work group is bringing the people in from the remote posts on a regular basis to, you know, get more information, give more information, and celebrate. Because
mm-hmm.
they can become detached. Financially, it's interesting because every human individual looks at a position and they say, you know, these are the pluses, these are the minuses. And if on the plus side, they're a really great group of people, I can work from home and take care of the baby or the cat. You know, I don't have to commute 1.5 hours each way in traffic, which is soul destroying. They treat me like an adult and they engage me, and not just a cipher doing repeat actions. So if all those are on the plus side, then does paying over the odds by the organization need to be in that column. Not necessarily. Mm-hmm. Because an individual's decision-making is way more complicated. And I think the really big favor that the millennials have done for us is they've said, this is not about money, this is about me. And so we are now forced to realize that we're not in the business just for the money, although we're in it for the money. It's about whatever, makes me productive, engaged, involved, gives me responsibility, and gives me happiness. Mm-hmm. So the millennials are forcing corporate America to do these things. And the really good news is that those of us who are not millennials tend to be not much different to millennials. I mean, right. We have the same needs, desires, and otherwise. What's really interesting is when you begin to take more experienced individuals with potentially long careers, and you go through the same exercise of being honest, exposing culture, getting them involved, deeply engaging them, giving them responsibility, delegating more, giving them credit, and letting them take a stake in the business. If you do that to more experienced individuals, some of them look puzzled, and they want to go back to this secure, structured environment. But many of them go, why did it take so long for this to happen in my career? That I feel engaged and involved and happy. Right. And so if you were to define our culture and Maverick for what it was, it's probably refugees from larger organizations. It doesn't make us right, it doesn't make us better than anybody. It's just being honest about who we are. This is the group of people we want to be. We think it's a productive way of approaching the work that we do. Right. And conversely, you've got quite a few people who say it might not be right for them. They might want the structured safety and security of working in a large organization. That's not right. That's not us. Right. Yeah. But none of it is related to money. I mean, oddly, nothing of what we've talked about in any way is related to money. Right. Right. No, I 100% agree. I mean, and it's not to say that there, like you said, that one way is right over the other. I mean, there are some people that really do enjoy working in a very large, stable, whatever grander scale, I guess, kind of corporate environment. There are people that genuinely enjoy that, and then there are others that don't. So, it's it doesn't make them any better or worse. I mean, it's just different. But I think it's about the organization being honest about who they are and getting in this dialogue with the employees as a whole, the associates as individuals, about their needs. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's great. What are your thoughts on kind of the broader, upcoming, ongoing trends? I mean, obviously, at least here in the U.S., everyone's talking about this minimum wage question and what that means, and kind of the ever-tightening labor markets. And I know that, labor has been a major concern for a lot of hoteliers this year especially. I mean, what are your thoughts about, kind of the trend that's happening in a bigger sense? Well, I'm not sure I'm smart enough to understand the trend when I see it. I think, like many things, it may be a the economy is not going to go up forever. Unemployment will at some stage rise. It's the job of the good employer to keep the best, most productive people to take care of both opportunities in an up economy and the challenges of a down economy. We have properties, in states like Massachusetts and Illinois with relatively high minimum wages. I think in each of those states we play happily and comfortably at that level or higher. Once again, it's back to getting the best associates. And I think the more we as an industry really approach our associates as absolute assets in the organization. I'm talking about recognition, responsibility, involvement, engagement, and credit. The more people will want to join our industry, which will be a very good thing.
Right. Great. I think that kind of covers it for me. I mean, you've been really, really helpful here. Is there something that we're missing that I haven't asked about that you want to note now while I have you?
Paul, have I missed anything?
I don't think so. I think, as always, you covered pretty much. You're always good at having one question, taking one question and kind of expanding on it to probably address others that you already had in your mind, right, Brendan?
It's the biggest. I suppose the final thing is you've got to be excited, and not just for that. It's not just about the millennials. It's engaging people so that, if they're on a conference call and they're a revenue manager or sales manager, they just want to get their stuff up on the web and brag about it, tell you about it, because they're so excited. And they know that you're going to be excited too. Because at the heart of it all, our business is a truly exciting, interesting business. And so why should we hide that and exclude it from all of our associates?
Right.
And I think we have a lot to be excited about. And sometimes we make it just dull and drab. And I think we're not accountants, we do accounting. We're not lawyers, we use lawyers. And we abide by the laws. We're in hospitality. We take care of everybody with safety and in comfort and with respect and some love. What a wonderful thing to do. And the more we can be truly excited by what we do, the deeper we can engage with our groups of associates.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Robin. I really appreciate it. It's very,
thanks,
very helpful.
Yeah, thanks.
Very well stated.
You're very welcome.
While I have you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Robin.
No. Oh, you're very welcome. And if you want to come and stay at one of our properties, just give us a buzz.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
But Paul, not Nantucket in the summer. Just so you know.
I'm gonna take you up on that. It's a very kind offer. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks, Robin. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye.
And then, take care.
Take care, Robin.
Brendan, you have a second? Did you get my email about Rebecca? Was that work? I know you said midweek. Is Thursday too late, or could you do Thursday?
I mean, I was kind of hoping to get the call done before then, but, I may be able to. I was going to kind of play it by ear and see how I only really need a couple more sources, and I have another call tomorrow, so I was going to kind of see if maybe something broke sooner. Do you have anybody else?
No, let me see if I can get, she could probably be, those are the times she threw out there as, I think right off the top of her head, but I can tell her, if she can do it sometime either later today, tomorrow or Wednesday, ideally.
That would be better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let me follow up with her on that. And, she just needs to plan for half an hour, right? So that should be good.
Yeah. 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Yeah.
What were the times again? Have they changed from before? Like if it's tomorrow, you're available except for.
Yeah, I think I have a call at like 2:00 or something like that I emailed you about. I can check. But yeah, it's actually let me see. Let me just pull up my calendar. Let's see. So my call is tomorrow at 2. So anytime other from 2 to like 2:30 or so is I'm pretty much free.
Okay. And then what about Wednesday, just in case?
Wednesday's pretty much open, so whatever you got on Wednesday would work.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Man.
Yeah, I'm sure she can make time. That'd be great. Robin's an interesting guy, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Not
he's
the
pretty sharp.
Yeah, not the typical hotel interview, man. That guy was like,
no,
he sounded more like a professor. You know what I mean?
I know. He does.
Yeah.
And I got that first call from him and Bob Habib. It was funny because, Bob. I worked with Bob way back when he was First Hospitality and I was with Identity, and I had stayed in touch with Bob after he left First Hospitality and he started Maverick, and we said, well, let's, Bob's like, let me just get my feet on the ground and we'll be in touch. And then one day out of the blue, he called me like in the spring and he said, Bob, how are you? I'm like, good. He's like, I got somebody in the car with me here. His name's Robin. He's got a few questions for you. And this was before they had officially kind of partnered up because Robin was with Scout Hotels at the time.
Uh-huh.
But you can imagine that's my first, he's talking like the professor on speakerphone with Bob in the car, and he's asking me all these questions and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, what did I get myself into here? but having spent time with him, I met him at Hunter Conference, and I've been with him a couple other times. He's a really nice guy, really sharp, smart guy, obviously. So if you ever need the words of wisdom from a professor type again, feel free to reach out. I'm sure he'd be glad to talk to you.
No, that was great. Absolutely. Keep him. Yeah, we'll keep him in the rotation for upcoming stuff. I mean, I'm probably, I'm hoping to be pretty busy in the coming months. I mean, H&N's had a little bit of like political changing, with Stephanie got promoted, so she's like the, and Stephanie was like my main kind of editor for like the last like 3 years at least.
Oh, great.
And so. Yeah, so like, but it kind of slowed things down a little bit because she was traveling and then she was figuring out her new job, and so, and then like Sean McCracken has been kind of helping her out. So like I haven't had as much volume like this summer from them as I usually do, but I'm kind of expecting like all the dust to settle and it'll sort of pick up again where it was, probably this coming month or by September, I think. Okay. Yeah, there was a little bit of a fluctuation, but yeah, I'll be pounding you with more of those interview requests for sure.
Yeah, awesome. No, that's great. Yeah. I appreciate it. I'm always glad I can help out, when I can. So
yeah, man, thank you.
Yeah. All right, let me call Rebecca or shoot her an email right now and see if you can make time tomorrow or Wednesday, and I'll just shoot you an email back.
All right, talk to you soon.
Sound good? Okay, thanks.
Man.
Talk to you. Bye.